Tonight's Behind the Lines, it's all about super PACs. The three biggest super PACs are Republican-controlled, including Restore Our Future. It's closely tied to GOP frontrunner Mitt Romney, and as of December, the last time it had to disclose its donations, the super PAC had taken more than $30 million in, but how much it's raised between now and then, anybody's guess, all secret. We have to wait till the filing. President Obama has been a staunch opponent of super PACs and the Citizens United decision, but political reality has set in, and he now says he will use them in his re-election campaign. Why the about-face? Senior Democratic officials warn Republican operatives like Karl Rove and wealthy GOP donors like the Koch brothers will spend $500 million to defeat President Obama. So is President Obama responding to a political reality, or is he trying to have it both ways? Democratic strategist Donnie Fowler joins us again here in the War Room. From Washington, we're also joined by the organizer of National Occupation of Washington, Kevin Zeese. Thank you so much, both of you, for joining us. And let me start by asking you for a reaction to something that Senator Russ Feingold, former senator, said. And this is what his comments were. He said the decision by the president was, quote, dumb strategy. He said, this is dancing with the devil. I know a lot of Democrats in D.C. don't agree, he said, and I understand the desire to do everything possible to win. But this decision will push Democrats to become corporate light. Let me start with Kevin. Kevin, what's your response to that?
Corporate light is being kind. I think this kind of mass spending on elections is more corruption of our government. It really shows the dysfunction of our government. The Federal Election Commission, the Department of Justice, the FBI could have investigated Karl Rove's two Crossroads and Crossroads GPS. He was using a nonprofit 501c4 to hide donations and avoid federal election laws. That should have been something the Department of Justice and FBI took on a year ago. Our group, Protect Our Elections, complained about that, and we haven't seen any action. President Obama has now sunk in and surrendered. He surrendered to big money. This is not new for him. He was the first president to run without using the campaign finance laws in his first election. So he has been a big money candidate throughout. He's holding campaign fundraisers at $38,500. That's more than the median income of Americans. It shows why the people are out of touch with the government's out of touch with the people, and we need an Occupy movement to really challenge both political parties that are in bed with big business interests.
Yeah.
Donnie, tell me what you think about it.
So sometimes I think progressives would rather bring a knife to a gunfight and capitulate the battle. The problem here is we cannot unilaterally disarm. The president cannot unilaterally disarm. He's facing an overwhelming amount of money that's hidden behind the Karl Rove, Koch brothers axis, and sometimes progressives and reformers would rather be weak and right than, like the Republicans, strong but wrong.
Well, let me ask Kevin that. I mean, Kevin, obviously you've got $500 million potentially being raised on the Republican side. Isn't there an argument, a good argument, that if we really want to see a change in this, which is really a constitutional amendment to get money out of politics, to get corporate money out of politics, that the best way to do that is to make sure that President Obama in the second term leads the charge for a constitutional amendment to do so. And his campaign manager, Jim Messina, said effectively some language like that today. Isn't that the best strategy rather than giving up?
No, no one's giving up. And in fact, what the Occupy movement believes, we need to build an independent movement to pressure both parties. We don't see President Obama as a progressive or even a liberal. His health care bill reinforced the insurance industry. His Wall Street reform made the too big to fail banks even bigger. His energy policy favors nuclear energy. He's not a progressive. He's not a liberal. He's not what we see him as part of the corrupt system. I'm sorry to say. We're focusing not on the elections. We're focusing on building a movement to really transform this society away from the corruption of both these political parties that Obama now
maybe
is
he could talk to Mitt Romney and the Republicans.
I know.
He says he's not a progressive.
Well, I'm critical of Republicans too. The Republicans also deserve criticism, no question.
Here's the really important thing, Jennifer, is that the vast majority of President Obama's election money in 2008 was from small donors of less than $150. And that's also turning out to be true this time. So any sense here that big money corporate America is going to walk in and support a president that they haven't supported so far is crazy. The money is going to come from working families, our friends in labor, our friends in the clean energy
Well,
movement.
I mean, the
and
point
small
about a
dollars.
super PAC is that it's going to come from wherever it can come
Wherever
from.
it can come from.
My point, though, is
if we want
to see these change, hang on
little...
just one second, Kevin. If we want to see this change,
Sure, go ahead,
we're not going to get it if the Republicans do it. We're not going to get it if the Republicans are in power. There's not another candidate out there that has talked even about Citizens United being the wrong decision and changing the laws. And I'm wondering if on the progressive side of the spectrum, and I completely understand what you're saying and your frustration about seeing this happen today. However, I feel like our best shot at getting the law changed is with President Obama, certainly then throwing in the towel with a Republican.
No one wants to throw in the towel, the Republicans or the Democrats. What has made change happen in the past is independent movements that challenge both parties. Dr. Martin Luther King never endorsed a candidate. He believed it was important to remain independent of the two parties. He pressured both parties. He got support and opposition for both parties, and that's what's going to happen in this kind of situation as well. We need to build a people's movement that will push the politicians. We're not going to trust the politicians. The politicians have let us down consistently, including President Obama.
I respect that, I really do, but I also want to make sure that we have the best opportunity to get a constitutional amendment, and I think that lies with President Obama rather than the Republicans. And my question to you, Kevin, the last sort of way I'd love to wrap this is to ask you whether the Occupy movement, assuming that there is a national push, can the Occupy movement own this idea of, I know that's been something the Occupy movement has worked on, but can you own this in potentially a second Obama term, this issue of doing conventions, people's conventions, to actually see a constitutional amendment, which I think you'd have to go through instead of going through Congress?
I think that may be the top priority. I think that may become the top priority of the Occupy movement. We'll see. It's a very decentralized process. There's a lot of talk about that. And I do think that getting money out of politics, reversing Citizens United, reversing Buckley that says money is speech, those need to be reversed in a constitutional amendment. That's the only way we can make those changes. So I think that could become a top priority for the Occupy movement to clean our elections up and make the system no longer a mirage democracy, but a real democracy where people count more than money.
He's absolutely right about that.
I think he is too. I think it's a tremendous goal to have, and I think we have an opportunity to see a lot of people coming together
We
in
have
support.
a minute. Do we have?
Yes.
We often ask the wrong question about money in politics. We often say, where's the money coming from, and try to solve the problem of the donors. What we don't ask is, where's the money going to? And one of the solutions you don't often hear about with campaign finance reform is the vast majority, you know because you ran for office several times, the overwhelming majority of money in campaigns goes to free television. Not to free television, to paid television.
To expensive television.
So the solution may be to take our public airwaves, take our public airwaves, and make those available to people running for office. Let's worry about where the money's going as much as we worry about where it's coming from.
Donnie Fowler.
I think if we took the money out of politics, that's what we'd be looking for. How do we get the message out?
How do we get it
the money's out?
I think there's common ground here. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Donnie. Appreciate it.